Waffle, waffle, waffle. Hello and welcome to Die Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam. My voice is nearly back to its normal self. Normally when I go to conventions, my voice kind of goes a little bit. This time around, I went to the UK Games Expo. I came up with a bunch of games and a bit of COVID, which I then passed on to my wife. So that was a good week. My last week has been awful. I've been so poorly, and my voice has only just come back. So I thought, what better way to use my voice than to talk to you guys about the games that I saw or played at the UK Games Expo. I have a pad full of stuff here. Apologies for the fact there was no Wednesday Waffle last week. Thank you for the kind thoughts, guys, and well wishes. I really appreciate it. That's lovely of you to come on my post and say, hope you get better. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So, armed with this pad of paper, a little coffee just off screen, I'm going to try and rattle through the games we played. First, let's talk about the UK Games Expo. The UK Games Expo, I've not been there in 3 years due to various family commitments. I've missed it. I got there and it was amazing. The whole thing with the expo is you just feel like you're surrounded by people that, the kind of people that you are. So you're surrounded by board gamers, role players. Everyone's so friendly. It's just absolutely lovely. This year, for the first time, I had people recognize me in the expo, which was mind-blowing. I'm such a small creator. So anyone who came up and said hi to me, honestly, it means so much. And such lovely comments you guys said about you enjoy the content we create. It just honestly means a lot to me that that you guys are enjoying the kind of stuff that I'm putting out. So it was lovely meeting you all. It really was. There was a lot of people there on Saturday, a lot of people. It got to a point where at the beginning of Saturday, it was busy, but I thought it was going to be absolutely jammers from the very beginning, but it wasn't. It was deceptively so. It kind of lulled me into a false sense of security because I was like, okay, well, it's not as busy as I thought it'd be. But then at some point, it was heaving, absolutely heaving. And if you only had one day to go to the expo and you went on Saturday, I don't think you would have had it as much fun as someone like myself who'd been there for the entirety of it, or maybe someone who came on the Sunday or the Friday, which is a real shame because I think if you go for one day and you go to the busiest day, you're going to have a pretty skewed opinion of how the expo was. But let's talk about it from a guy who's been there since the Thursday press night. Lots of really fun games there this year. I came in this year without much prep of looking what games were coming out. Now for me, I'm a big fan of big American dice rollers, big dungeon crawlers, those kind of things, which, I don't think not necessarily are as popular over here as they are over in the States. So I was kind of looking out for some like that. One game that I was aware was going to be there, which was the Thinning Veil, Cormac McCart, and on the other side of Midnight, I think I got that right, by Triskelion Games. I knew that was there, so I wanted to give that a go because I'd already played the game with the creator over a Facebook Messenger kind of rig that he'd kind of set up a couple of Sundays ago. I already did a video on that to say, just a quick shout out for that video, just to say, guys, back it if you can. And if there's a late pledge option and you're into dungeon crawlers, definitely check that out. But I'm getting into games at the moment. I want to talk about the expo. Thursday night, press night, we went to the awards ceremony. I say I met up with a bunch of other Instagrammers, because if you didn't know, guys, I'm not just YouTube, I'm also Instagram. So I met up with a bunch of Instagrammers, sat down, we watched these award shows. There was Luke Gygax, who is obviously son of the legendary guy who made Dungeons and Dragons, and Steve Jackson as well. No, I don't believe it's Steve Jackson who wrote the Choose Your Own Adventure books, but Steve Jackson who does Car Wars and things like that. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. So we did that. Then we went to the press night itself, which was walking around. I had the absolute pleasure to meet Marco from Raybox Games, who made Escape from Stalingrad Z. Absolute pleasure meeting the guy in person, and he gave us a bunch of minis for Stalingrad Z, so you can expect to see those painted up and played with. And also, he gave us a prototype for one of his games coming out, which is exclusive to this channel. There's only 2 prototypes out in the world, so yeah, you're going to see it exclusively here on the channel. I'll play through as much of that as I can, so keep an eye out for that. We saw Bez, as always, some fantastic games. Bez had an absolutely beautiful game. I didn't get a chance to go around and see her again, which I'm absolutely gutted at, because that game, I'm going to see if I can beg, borrow, and steal that, because it just seemed amazing. It was a mindfulness game where you have 3 cards out of a big deck of 100 cards or something. You pick one and you do that card. So that was honestly, she was describing that game to me, and I was getting teary because it was just an absolutely beautiful concept. But yeah, so many really cool games coming out of that studio. I cannot recommend enough just checking a look at some of Bez's stuff, because there's some really great collaborations going on. Some games I'm like, is that even a game? It's just such a great concept. I honestly don't know how she does it consistently. I also met up with Chris from Blackletter Games. Spoke to the guy for about 4 years. Never met him, so actually meeting him in person for the first time was just lovely. And he's as lovely as he is over Messenger as he is in person. A really pleasure seeing him. And he was promoting his new game coming out called Gunpowder, Treason and Plot, which is a social deduction game which you can get done in under 10 minutes. It is such a fantastic game, where you are all kind of plotting to blow up the Houses of Parliament, you've got a hand of cards which have different symbols on, and there are bombs on the table which need symbols, and in real time you are going around taking it in turns, placing cards that match those symbols face down on these cards. When you've got 4 matching symbols, then the game is paused, and then you check to see if those ingredients actually make the bomb. Now, the reason you're checking is because one of you, or at least one of you, depending on the player count, is actually an agent of the Crown and is working against everybody. So they might be putting down the false ingredients, or they can actually try and make those themselves, get as many kind of bombs as possible. Because when you complete a bomb, the last person who placed the kind of ingredient down gets to keep that bomb at the end. At the very end of the game, rather than just going, right, I was an agent of the Crown, you go around the table and you ask people, starting with the least amount of gunpowder barrels, you say, right, do you want to ignite or what was the other? Not diffuse, but yeah, do you not want it to go off? And you go around, you ask people, are you going to blow it up or not blow it up? And yeah, if you are an agent of the Crown and you say, and you've got like most of the barrels, and you say, nope, I'm not going to ignite that, then you might not reach that target which you're collectively trying to get to blow up the House of Parliament. Anyway, Gunpowder, Treason and Plot. I cannot recommend playing this game enough. It was so much fun. And I played it about 3 or 4 times over the expo. Once with Bob, who's a fan of the channel. It was lovely playing with you, Bob, if you're watching this. Very sneaky guy. Watch out for him, guys. And yeah, it was just a really fun game. What else did we see? We saw lots. We saw lots of the press night. And the press night is pretty nice. Once the press night had been finished, we then went and sat down and played some games, which was lovely. We met so many Instagrammers, and if I'm honest, I spoke to, I don't know, just so many people who I've maybe follow and never spoke to before, or or have come across. Jade, who does all the photography for the expo, who does some amazing miniatures. I met her and her partner. That was amazing. They're such lovely people. And you know, even just sitting down and having lunch with them, it was lovely. It was really nice. So yeah, people and board games. two of my favorite things. And yeah, the Thursday press night was fantastic. I think I did a live about that on my Instagram or YouTube, so you can check that out if you want to see in more detail about what I actually saw and played there. Because honestly, I've been to sleep since, and I've had COVID. So we're going to go rattle through his list of games that I played and saw. Yeah, the expo overall, fantastic fun, a great time, lovely meeting people, lovely meeting fans, and amazing playing new games. What can I say? And old games. And also, I'll tell you what my game of the show was. Let's do that. So, we're going to kick off with Maladum. So, Maladum by Battle Systems is a kind of fantasy. Well, I say fantasy, it's like, it's actually set after Core Space, but it's basically a fantasy dungeon crawler / skirmish game. I have the pleasure of playing this game, learning a bit about the lore with the guys at their actual booth. It looked amazing. It played well. I've got both Core Spaces that are currently out. I played, really enjoyed them. And this looks like a refined kind of version of those systems. The fantastic thing is you could definitely combine the sets, so have some futuristic, elements. You can have some people travel through time into the far future where, technology is degraded or whatever the plot is of Maladum, and you could have them go around with blasters and shooting each other and stuff. I don't know. It could be really fun. Or have the undead coming out of kind of asteroids and stuff, if you're into Core Space. So Maladum, I actually backed this on Kickstarter. So one of the last games I backed because it just looked so cool, and I just really wanted to play it. The game plays really well. It's very simple to understand what your characters can and cannot do. It's got a progression system, so you level up your characters as you go. One of the new features of the game is you're basically dealing with the undead in this game, and there are several points on the actual mat itself, because this has a lovely neoprene mat, and then you put these kind of 3D cardboard tokens up for the walls, and basically making your dungeon. And on the actual mat itself, there are these little kind of like broken flagstones in there where you can see like dirt. And when you're spawning enemies in the game, there's a high chance you can actually spawn these creatures like actually coming out of the ground. So the undead basically burst around you. So you could have the best plan of trying to get back to the entrance of the dungeon, or you're trying to get this particular legendary artifact, or you might have just killed off some enemies and you're really low in health, but you're just in a bit alone, and then suddenly that spawn dice is rolled and you're surrounded by enemies. That was fantastic fun. It really added to the kind of risk and reward. And I think with Core Space, it was very much a game of risk and reward. You are like, well, do I try and get that really cool equipment, or do I try and get out with my life? Most told me like, I should risk it, and then it doesn't work out well for you. If you'd like to see Core Space in action, I filmed the Hull Breach scenario, which is like an online scenario, and that's on the channel. So you should definitely check that out if you want to see what Maladum's like. Imagine that, but with the fantasy setting. We had fantastic luck in the game. We kept getting blessing tokens, which meant we could reroll dice. And I was playing with Alex, and Alex doesn't, he's our casual gamer. He's not as kind of au fait with some of the mechanics of more modern board games. But yeah, he got that down pretty quickly. And I think after playing that, he's very interested in getting that to the table and playing it. So yeah, you can expect Maladum when that ships, whenever that is, in the not too distant future. And I'll be obviously painting that up and showing you guys what that looks like. Okay, so the next one is my exclusive, the Cats of Mont Saint Michael's. So this is by Raybox Studios. This is a narrative game just like Stalingrad Z. Stalingrad Z, in that game, you are basically in Stalingrad surrounded by zombies on every single side, and you just have to survive. This time around, you are playing cats. And not just cats, but like musketeer cats. And you are going up against rats and cockroaches and all kind of vermin. And it is a blast to play. With Stalingrad Z, there were some clunky mechanics in it. it's a game that needs a bit of streamlining. It's a really fun game, really thematic game, and it's a very immersive game, but could do a little bit of streamlining. Some of the rules weren't in where I expected them to be, but overall, I absolutely love that game. This game, they have refined the rule set. They've made it very simple, but not so simple that is a game, solely for kids or anything. This is a game that I played with another guy in a private booth, and we had an absolute blast playing it. The fact that the movement for the cats isn't just, oh well, yeah, you can walk, you can run. It's like, oh, you can stalk, you can pounce, you can prowl, and all of these kind of movement options are thematic. They are immersive. You really do feel like you are kind of playing a cat. You've got 9 hit points. Lots of little things like that are absolutely fantastic. There's also an in between each adventure, you get to go to like this little kind of tavern. It's just fun. We also saw some of the painted miniatures, and they were beautiful. If you get that game, then and you're a miniature fan, then that is definitely for you. It's a theme that, looking at, I wasn't sure what that would be like, but you are essentially trying to save this kind of town from rats. And it just really worked. Everything clicked. It was such a fantastic game, and we were given a prototype copy of that. So expect to see that on the channel in the not too distant future, because yeah, it was so much fun. So yeah, that's the cats of Mont Saint Michael's, and expect me to mispronounce all the French in that because I'm terrible. So let's talk about Alley Cat Games. We played a game of Tinder Blocks. I have never played Tinder Blocks. This is a game that's completely new to me. You are essentially trying to make a fire, and you have got a little kind of tweezers, and you've got like wooden blocks and wooden kind of oblongs. And you're basically trying to make a fire. You draw a card, tells you whether you're using your right hand, your dominant or non-dominant hand, or as my kids say, your domino hand or your non-domino hand. And yeah, you are trying to basically stack stuff onto a fire. This doesn't sound especially complex. It is so much fun. I can't recommend it enough. We got a review copy of that, so expect that on the channel in the not too distant future. And what's great about that game as well is there's so many expansions for it. So many different versions. There's a version which is like a nighttime version. There is a version which has a storm kind of mechanic to it. There's a version with marshmallows. And we also did get a sight of their new game coming out, which I'm not sure I can actually tell you about because it's top secret. We took a picture. We weren't sure we were allowed to take a picture, and they weren't sure whether we were allowed to take a picture. So I have to wait to talk about that game. So I'll be keeping an eye out for Alley Cat Games announcements, and I'll let you know what that is as and when. But they've got another game coming out, similar kind of thing, but yeah, really, really fun. So Tinder Blocks was great. Undermined. We played Undermined. So this was a game that was at Aircon. I didn't get a chance to play it. Saw it here, tried to play it, but they were absolutely rammed the entire weekend. Luckily, though, I was able to play a game with John from Tryman Games and a guy called Emil. Is Emil's copy, and yeah, it was great fun. It was a really fun game where essentially you are trying to get, I think, 12 victory points. You get victory points by mining. You mine by using equipment, and the deck for mining is basically this big deck of rock, and it has a number on there, and then you have to basically roll 2 dice. And with the kind of bonus from your equipment, so if it's like a pickaxe, you get a +2 to that dice roll. You have whatever that number is has to beat whatever the number of the rock is. You flip that over, and then it says, "Oh, you can draw from the treasure deck or the peril deck." You don't want to get the peril deck, but the treasure deck's pretty good. I highly recommend, if you play the game, you do it in an American accent the entire way through. It makes the game so much fun. But yeah, they had loads of really nice deluxe components you could pick up at the weekend. But yeah, that was fantastic fun. I really enjoyed that. So that's Undermined. Gunpowder, Treason and Plot I've already spoken about, but in a bit of detail actually. But yeah, I highly recommend, if you like social deduction games and you like them to play several games in an hour, or you like social deduction games that don't last as long as Blood on the Clock Tower, then definitely check out Gunpowder Treason and Plot. That will be coming to Kickstarter, I think, later on this year, maybe October. The artwork for it, by the way, is beautiful. So yeah, check that out. Okay, so I've got little asterisks here because this guy didn't quite get the whole title of this game. So I'm going to hopefully flash this up now so you know what this game is. We played the strange forgeries, or the bizarre forgeries of someone. The Offline Gamer had invited us to a demo of this particular game. I knew nothing about it. I had seen some posters for it. I'd read a little bit about it on the press preview, the kind of email they sent out to everybody, and it sounded really interesting. The general idea is there is one person who is basically working alongside an artist, this strange guy. And they have basically got a rule which denotes whether a painting or a picture is an original or a fake. So if you imagine there's the actual artist, and he said, well, you know, all of my paintings, they have to have more white shapes than black shapes. And as this person who's like kind of the apprentice of this person, you have to draw out a couple of different pieces of paper. You draw out a couple of different things which either follow that rule or don't follow that rule. And then you tell the people at the table which one is a fake and which one isn't a fake. Now, when I sat down at the table, I thought the idea of the game was to try to figure out what that rule was. That isn't the idea of the game. You need to figure out what that rule is, but you have to hide that from everyone else at the table, because what happens at the end? But anyway, so the person who's basically knows the rule draws on a piece of paper, on 3 different pieces of paper, 3 different kind of like paintings, and then tells you, puts them into like 2 different piles. One which is, this, like 2 different areas. One which is, these are fakes, these are originals. And then they ask you, the other players, to draw, let's say, 3 paintings, okay? And over the next like 5-6 rounds, this keeps going on. You will be basically drawing, you know, however many paintings they ask you to draw, and you are trying to figure out what that rule is. And how that happens is you draw these kind of 3 different pictures or whatever, you hand them back over to the apprentice. The apprentice looks at them, figures out what the rule is from what they know, and then they decide which one of these 3 is, you know, fake or original. And what they do, they flip them over and they write an X if it's a fake or an O if it's original, and then they hand it back to you. And only you know which of your kind of your paintings are fakes and original. So this, like I say, this goes on over like 5 or 6 rounds. You end up with a ton of like paper with some fake, some original. And I'll be honest, playing this game, I thought the first 2 rounds, I was like, well, I don't need to carry on drawing pictures because I already know what the rule is. And then as we were discussing opening at the table, which you really shouldn't be doing, somebody mentioned, oh yeah, this one I got here, this is a fake. And it blew my mind because I was like, wait, if that's a fake, then what I think the rule is wrong. So that was amusing. But anyway, at the end of the game, what happens is you have to choose about 20 of your pictures that you've drawn and choose which ones are fake, choose a mixture of fakes and originals, and then put them into these kind of little sleeves, and then you leave them for everyone to look at. So everyone's got in front of them 20 different, like 20 of their own pictures, which are a mixture of fakes and originals. And then everyone then has to basically mark on their kind of little boards which ones of everyone's they think are fake and original. And then whoever's got the most originals on their kind of guessing wins the game. So that's why you have to kind of keep the rule to yourself, because you're trying to be the only person who knows the rule, so you can actually get the most originals. And that's it. I don't know whether it sounds interesting actually spelling that out like that, but it was one of the most interesting games I've ever played. Very different. I played with my 3 kids and Matt and Karen from the Offline Gamer, and it was an absolute blast. It was lovely. So yeah, is this a game that I would get to add to my collection? 100%, I would buy this game. It was just so different from everything else. If you were looking for a fun game to play with a group of, well, a group of people, it doesn't have to be adults. This this definitely ticks the boxes. This is going to be unlike anything everyone's ever played before, but it's quite simple to grasp what it is. And it's kind of like Mysterium in a way that you've got. It's like a group kind of. It's an event. It's an event. I think Mysterium is an event. It's something that's always hits the table in a good light. Everyone's always interested with how it's going to go, and I think this is definitely one of those event games where you're going to have a game of this and just remember it for a long time. It's simple enough that anyone could grasp the concept, but it can get quite complicated when you're not quite sure what the rule is. And we played as like a stripped down version because we were playing with children, and that was complex enough to keep me interested and engaged, and the kids could follow it as well, which was great. So yeah, that is the strange or bizarre forgeries of someone. Once again, the title will be below. Okay. Next, Dead by Daylight. Not new to me. New to DB Gamers, which was lovely meeting Dan. We played a game of that, and that was so much fun. Crystal from Level 99 Games approached me and said, hey, would you like to play a game of this with other people? And I was like, I'd love to play this game with some other people. And she said, we'd play with some content creators. And I said, have you got your own copy that's painted with you? No, she doesn't. So I brought my painted copy. So we played a game with the Cannibal. It was close until it wasn't. It was so much fun. I love the Dead by Daylight board game. And it was fun teaching to other people and getting it right. Not often I get games right first time, but I have played the game a few times now. And yeah, it's always an absolute pleasure to get at the table. So yeah, Dead by Daylight. That's not a hat. Not new to anybody, probably. New to me, That's Not a Hat was the only game I bought at the expo because it was just so much fun. It was a game that I could play with anybody. It's a game that I know my non-gaming kind of in-laws would absolutely adore. It's definitely a Christmas game, so I'm going to kind of ship a copy up to them for Christmas because it was it was great fun. Essentially a memory game. You have a card in front of you at the very beginning of the game, and all the cards just have a picture on one side. So it could be like a lollipop, it could be a spaceship, a shark, something like that. And on the other side, it has a directional arrow. And what you do, so everyone starts off with a card. You look around the table, everyone says what they've got. And then a new card is drawn. You flip it over and it said, let's say this one is a hat. Well, that's not a hat. So you then flip it over, you see what the arrow is pointing where to go, and you basically go, oh, hey, here, this is a hat. And that person then has an option. They could either refuse to accept that gift, saying that's not a hat, or if they believe it's a hat, they could say thanks for the hat. And then their card that's currently face up, they flip over, and then they say, thanks for the hat. Here is a bicycle or whatever it was on the card, and then they follow the arrow direction. Now, some of the arrows on the green kind of box basically means you can actually give it to somebody else. It doesn't have to be left or right of you, which makes it more complex. So once everyone's kind of passed their original kind of gift around, you've basically got all these cards in front of you, and you're trying to remember the card in front of you, where all the other cards have gone. And as soon as somebody loses 3 times by either saying that's not a whatever, and it actually is that thing, or they pass it on to somebody, say this is a bicycle, and the person says it's not a bicycle, flips it over, and it wasn't a bicycle. You lose a life every time somebody calls you out for being wrong. And once someone's lost 3 lives, you see who's got the least amount of who's lost the least amount of lives. Really simple game. I probably butchered it by explaining it, oversimplifying it, or over complicating it, but that was so much fun. So that's not a hat. Only game I sought out to actually buy, and I played it with my family this weekend. 8 of us playing it, and it was so much fun. Ranging from my gran who's in her 80s to my kids who are in their youngies. We played a game of Bristol 1350. That was always a pleasure. Played with a bunch of other content creators, kicking each other out of apple carts, muscling our way forward. It was great fun trying to escape the plague city of Bristol. Yeah, Facade Games do some fantastic games, and that was a blast playing that. Styrie. So Alex and I had the pleasure to sit down and play a prototype copy of Styrie. It's a collaborative narrative game. You have a big deck of character cards. So you flip it over, it says, oh, it's a wizard. And then you basically have a bunch of 5 cards in front of you, which are kind of descriptive words or plot kind of hooks. And what you basically have to do is you have to come up with a story for whoever this wizard is. And over the game, you are basically making a story up, using the cards in front of you, and drawing new cards to replace those cards. At some points, new cards could say, oh, a new character appears, for instance. Now, what makes this different to other kind of collaborative narrative games is you can win this game. The more complex story kind of hooks are worth more points, as opposed to the kind of more generic ones, which aren't worth many points. So at the end of the game, once the whole thing is done, you basically count up all the cards that you used, and whoever has the most points was the story master. Alex and I played this with the guys who made the game, and it was so much fun. We had a story about a leprechaun ending up fighting like going in the future with a wizard to try and get camels off of a king. It was a whole thing. And it's one of those games where that story is never going to be told again, thankfully. Styrie. The COVID is still strong with this one. So yeah, I just had to stop there. Sorry for that. It was so much fun. It was an absolute blast. We were all laughing, all having a great time with it. It's a game that I think you could play again and again and again. And this is a guy who really enjoys Fiasco, who really enjoys The Score. Any of those collaborative narrative games are really, really kind of tick a box for me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm missing acting. Maybe that's it. And it's a nice way to hone my improvisational skills. Right, so we play Pac-Man Corridor, me and the kiddos. Never played Corridor, but Pac-Man Corridor, pretty cool. Essentially, you're just trying to get... we only played the very basic mode. You are the ghosts, you're trying to get from one side of the board to the other side of the board. You have like 5 tiles to create walls to block the other person from getting to the other side. And it was fun. It was fun, furious, frantic, all the Fs. Kids loved it. I had a great time. I'd see about maybe trying that again at a board game cafe. It was, really fun. And if you like Pac-Man, the pieces are absolutely lovely. They've done a great job with it. Stomp the Plank XL, not new to me, new to the kids. We had a great time playing this. They had big versions of this at the expo. There was a big open gaming area for like a family zone for kids and stuff, and just families. We could play some fun kind of dexterity games and things like that. And Stomp the Plank, risk and reward kind of game. You're pulling out cards and hoping to not pull out doubles, and then placing weights on other people's planks. You got elephants on planks, and they basically every time you draw a kind of double card, you have to move your elephant one step closer to the end of the plank. And as you stop your drawing of these cards, you can basically add weights to other people's planks. And once your plank kind of goes in the water, then you've walked the plank and you're out. But yeah, Stomp the Plank is great fun. Next, we played Shadow Ninjas, which will be on the channel. Shadow Ninjas was great. We had Handplay Games came up to us and said, this is a fantastic game, you should check it out. We went and checked it out, and we loved what we saw. We played the creator, we beat the creator as well. I don't know whether he let us win, but me and the kids had a fantastic time playing that. And this weekend we got it out and we were just playing game after game of it. Essentially, you are either the kind of loyal Daimo dogs who are basically trying to protect the koi carps, or you are crafty shadow ninja cats. And the game basically has a bunch of, it's like a maze, and the cats start one side of the board and the dogs start the other side of the board. There's 2 dogs, there's a ton of cats. Now the cats are double-sided kind of like, I want to say tiles. They're not tiles, they're like counters. Double-sided counters. One side is like a shadowy kind of like ninja, and the other side is either a shadowy ninja, or a cat ninja. So there are only one cat per player, per kind of cat player who are actually in there. So out of all these like 20 odd, 24 kind of like counters, only like 4 of them, if you've got a 5-player game with 1 person playing the dogs and 4 people playing the cats, 4 of them, there are only 4 actual ninjas in there. The rest are shadows. So how it works, you basically roll 2 dice and you move 2 different kind of like shadow cats tokens, that many spaces. So if you get 6 and a 1, you move 1 token 6, 1 token 1. Simple, right? Really simple. And you know, all the cats get to go first, and then the dog goes. The dogs win by basically catching all the ninjas, and how they do that is if they ever have line of sight on a shadow cat token, you can flip the count around and they get to see it. And if they've caught a cat, cat's out of the game, unless you're playing the family variant where basically they just get reset at the beginning of the kind of track. Or yeah, if it's just a shadow ninja, then they know that that particular counter they don't have to worry about. The cats are basically trying to get to these 4 different locations on the board which have the koi carps on. It's not as easy as it sounds for either side. But yeah, a really fantastic game, great design, and lovely to actually play with the creator. It's a guy I met previously. And yeah, we've got a review copy of that, so that'll be on the channel. And maybe we'll try and get the offline gamer involved, because that might be a fun little thing to do. But yeah, Shadow Ninjas, I highly recommend checking that out. It was so much fun. Right, Gecko Run. Kids enjoyed Gecko Run. This is essentially a marble run that you stick to the side of a wall. I don't know how well it would work on an actual wall. If it's going to, you know, the grown-up in me is like, well, is that going to work that well against an actual wall? Is that going to leave marks on your wall? I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely fun. You basically just have a series of kind of like half pipes that you stick to walls, and like little goals, and you're basically just trying to get your marbles from the very top down these things and into the goals. We tried several different kind of combinations. We couldn't get the marbles to actually get where they needed to go. We were close, but yeah, that was, the kids enjoyed that. That was quite fun. That was Gecko Run. We played Kugo as well, which is a dexterity game in a box, and is basically a game design kind of box. You get a box full of wooden shapes and kind of discs and all kind of sorts. I believe it's currently on crowdfunding at the moment. And yeah, what you basically make your own games. So you've got a couple of ramps, and you might make a game where you're trying to get flick counters up into like a little pot or something. Or you might just do 10-pin bowling. There's so many different like variations you can do. This is a great tool for someone who wants to go into dexterity game design, for instance, or just game design in general. My kids had a great time just rearranging the setup, playing the games they've got on there. They've done a couple of games at the actual booth themselves. They've kind of set up, so my kids were trying different versions of that. And then they'd also made their own table and come up with their own kind of like sporty kind of game they could do, which was quite interesting. So Kugo looks really fun. I played it, and it was a fun little kind of wooden dexterity game. And I think it's definitely one that if you are a fan of making games, then it's well worth checking that out, because you could really come up with some fun concepts and your own little games that you can have your own little championships with your friends or tournaments or whatever. It was, yeah, it was pretty cool. Right, next, another dexterity game. Catapult Feud. Catapult Feud has been out for absolutely ages, and every time I see it, I absolutely love it. I'm a guy of a certain generation where we had a game called Crossbows and Catapults, where you basically shot discs out of the bottom of Viking longboats and smashed other people's castles down. It was just great fun. Catapult Feud, you have 2 catapults. You have like building blocks to do a castle, and you have little army men who you place on the behind the castle. The idea is you are using the catapult to fire a rubber ball at the other person's castle to try and knock down all 5 of their people. We played with the last copy they had in the building. This game sells out every single year. The last copy they had in the building. So the guy was like, here's the rubber ball. Please do not lose this, because otherwise we got nothing to show. So we were running after that ball all the time. Catapult Feud, fantastic fun. If you got kids, get this game. Simple as that. This is just great fun. Catapult Feud. Catapult Feud. They have a new one coming out called Jurassic Feud, maybe, which is like a dinosaur themed one. But for me, Catapult Feud, that was great. Okay, so here's some other games I didn't get to really play, but I want to talk about. So, Saw, Jigsaw. Movie tie-in games used to be a kind of a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a crap shoot, really. You get the odd good one, most of them are terrible. More and more these days, I play movie tie-in board games, and I think they're fantastic. I did not get a chance to play the Saw board game, but I spoke with Luke, the designer of the game, and it sounded amazing. Essentially, it is a board game of the film Saw. You are playing as a potential apprentice for the killer from Saw, and you are basically designing traps by using cards. And then once you've designed your trap, you then are experimenting on the other people at the table, and they could try to get out through an easy way or a hard way. If they go out the easy way, the way the trap's designed, then chances are they're going to be maimed or they're going to lose a limb. And to kind of represent that, every character has like a little character board with arms and legs, which are actually jigsaw pieces that come off, and you replace them with like kind of damaged limbs, which is thematic and also just deliciously evil. That's Saw Jigsaw game. It's currently, I think it funded at Kickstarter. They're currently fulfilling people with that. You can pre-order that game. If you like the film Saw, this is a fantastic adaptation. I was blown away by it. It was great. They also had a They Live card game, which was fantastic because they had little sunglasses you put on and certain text appeared that wasn't there when you didn't have the sunglasses on. So great idea. But Iconic Studios got some really interesting games coming out, so you should definitely check those guys out. That Saw game, yeah, I wish I could have sat down and played that with some people because it would just looked great fun. So, Heroes of the Shire, I would be remiss if I did not mention this game. Heroes of the Shire I saw at Aircon. It was my favourite game at Aircon. It was so much fun. Essentially, we played the arena mode where you're battling against another team. It was just great fun doing kind of combinations of hero powers and working off your teammates and, yeah, basically just reducing your opponents to zero. It was a very close game. And I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed it. There was also a narrative mode that we didn't get a chance to play, like an overworld kind of adventure scenario mode. However, we saw them there at the expo. They were absolutely rammed. It was fantastic. I always enjoy seeing games that I really love just absolutely in a day with people. Like The Thinning Veil. Triskelion games were always busy, and it's kind of frustrating if you'd come there just for that particular game. Like the Mantic booth, I was really looking forward to meeting some of the Mantic guys and saying, hey, really enjoy Dungeons & Dragons Origins. But because they had Halo there, you couldn't get to speak to anybody. Everything Epic Games as well. I want to go chat to those guys because they do Secret of the Lost Tomb. But yeah, absolutely inundated every time I went there. However, Heroes of the Shire, absolutely fantastic game. We managed to get a review copy of it as well, so we're going to be showing you that on the channel. It is an absolutely beautiful game with some great mechanics, and hopefully I can show them off and show you guys how much fun that game is. So yeah, stay tuned to that channel. This channel. We saw Ada's Dream in works as well. Ada's Dream, a new kind of Euro game. Lots going on in that game. It kind of, I think it blew Alex's mind a little bit when we had the press kind of one-to-one demo of it. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Really nice theme of, trying to create the kind of a computer. I had to ask who Ada was, so apologies for that, guys, for any history buffs who were like, Adam, how do you not know that? But yeah, that was a really fun game. I'm looking forward to seeing that in action. Euro games are games I really do enjoy, but don't actually have that many. Normally give me a headache. Chocolate Factory nearly melted my brain. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to actually playing Ada's Dream when it comes out. Also, Storyteller. So Storyteller, they were in the far corner of one of the halls. I want to say Hall 2. It is essentially a cross between a role-playing game and a board game. It's a way to kind of get through your D&D campaign in a few sessions rather than 6 years. They're currently funding at the moment on Kickstarter. Artwork was great. The gameplay looked really fun. It was a game that I'm definitely really interested to see where they go with it. Really low price point as well, which was which is always good. But yeah, Storyteller, check those guys out. That was a fun. If you're looking for a way to do a kind of to expedite your D&D sessions, Storyteller's the game for you. But yeah, that's it really. I mentioned the thing about previously. I don't think I played any other games, but we played so many games over that weekend. I met so many lovely people. I had such a fantastic time. And I just can't wait for next year. I really can't. It was one of those things where it ended. I was like, oh, it's such a shame there aren't more days to this, because it's not something you can do in a day. You can technically do the expo in a day, but you need at least 2 days for that thing. The fact there's also loads of events on, loads of open gaming. You can sit down and play games. There's just no end to it. And the fact there was so many lovely content creators there, so many lovely members of the public who just came up and said hi. I just felt very, very privileged to be there. So I would highly recommend, if you are a fan of board games, that you check out the UK Games Expo. If you can do one day, do the Friday or do the Sunday. The Saturday is very busy. If you are a family, just go Sunday. Sunday's all you need. You won't get to see the entire expo, but I went with my 3 girls, the first time they'd ever been to an expo, and they were absolutely blown away. They were coming away saying, "Oh, Dad, we want to go next year." And I was like, "Yeah, do you know what? I'd go again." It wasn't too busy for them. They got to go around and look at all the different stalls and stuff. We got to play some new games. I honestly felt like I was in the Crystal Maze in there, because I'd say to the girls, right, what kind of game do you want to play? Do you want to play a dexterity game? Do you want to play a mind game? That kind of thing. Like you're leading the Crystal Maze. They're like, oh, dexterity game. We're like, right, come with me. And then we'll go and play, Kugo or something. It was just fun. Getting the kids involved. They did fancy dress for it, or cosplay. And yeah, it's a great day out for the family. Next year, I'm hoping to take them again. So I'm hoping the UK Games Expo again next year, because it was just a blast. It's only around the corner. But yeah, that's about it for me, guys. My voice, once again, crackling up under the pressure. Nearly at 49 minutes here coming into this. So I will leave it there, guys. A quick shout out for what's going on the channel. So we'll be covering the Cats of Mount St. Michael. We'll be filming some of that for you guys to check out. We'll be doing some Tinder blocks. We have already filmed an Age Contrived, which was fantastic Euro game. We have filmed Pandora Celeste, which was a fantastic thematic kind of co-op game, until it's not a co-op. So we've got those two kind of videos in the bag. We filmed those with the Offline Gamer. And we've got much more to show you guys, like so much more. We have the Metal Gear Solid board game winging its way over at some point this year, the next couple of months. All these Arkham Horrors, I'd love to get on the table and show you what those were like. And of course, guys, Shadows of Brimstone, I've been saying for months now. I've not picked that up since AirCon in March, I think it was, and we're now on June. So it has been a while, guys. I appreciate your patience with that. I need to do a town phase, and then I need to do the next adventure phase, and it's just getting the time to set all that up. My I was going to do it on a Wednesday evening, didn't end up happening in the end. Hopefully I'll get to do that this week, and at least kickstart the process with this, so you guys have got something fun to watch. So anyway, I've been the ever excitable Adam. Thank you guys for your patience with the channel. Thank you guys for all your well wishes. Thank you if you were at the expo and you came up and said hi to me. Honestly, it meant the world to me. Thank you so much for coming and saying hi. Or if I played the game with you, thanks for nothing. But yeah, it was great to meet everybody. It was great to be there. Great to be involved. Great to play some fantastic games. So yeah, keep an eye out for all the games I mentioned. If you have any questions about the games I've mentioned, put them in the comments below. If you have any queries about games that were there that I didn't get a chance to play, let me know. One thing I'd say, the new Mass Effect board game, meh. Play Rogue Angels, not the Mass Effect board game. But yes, I've been the ever excitable Adam. Until next time, guys, stay safe or die rolling.